Welcome in a new segment of the Transfer Portal Tracker. Ben Spicer here, joined by Michael Langston. And Michael has been tracking a lot over these last several days and weeks as the transfer portal opened. A lot of activity, a lot of visitors on campus so far and upcoming. We're going to get into all of that here on this video. Michael, just break it down for us. What's the latest happenings? I know there's visitors actually on campus right now as we record this. So just take us through kind of what's been going on these last couple days.
Yeah, the most recent ones, Randy Pittman, a tight end out of Panama City, Florida, that was at Central Florida, visited yesterday. I've heard the visit went really good. From what I can tell, I think there might be one more visit. I don't know the exact place he goes or for visit, maybe Virginia Tech or Arizona State, but I think FSU feels good about how that visit went with Randy Pittman through the next 2 days. He was there for 2 days, spent a lot of time, obviously with Chris Thompson and stuff. So I think that one seems to be good, but you never know, as far as a portal. And then one of the most recent ones was Lee Hunter, defensive tackle from Central Florida, very coveted defensive tackle. I knew they were going to pursue, made that mention on the boards on the PRB several times, that he was a guy that I felt like they were going to push for. Gus Malzahn's his former head coach, so there's certainly a connection there. FSU also previously recruited him out of high school when he was at Blunt High School in Alabama. So that's a guy that is certainly I'm keeping an eye on. I think certainly that's one that you could certainly you could see happen, and it could happen quick. Like I said, these things go fast when it comes to where there's connection. I think Texas was also mentioned. I'm supposedly was going to visit there, but I don't know if that actually went through. But that's the other team that I've heard mentioned around him. But overall, those are kind of some of the name ones. Kevin Sperry, the 2025 signee, visited this weekend. Officially visit. He got that done, and then he'll be here later. But I think those are some of the main ones. Earlier in the week, you had Marcellus Marshall visit an offensive lineman, offensive tackle at UCF. That's one where there's a big connection with Herb Hand. There's a big connection with Gus Malzahn. I feel good about kind of where they sit in that one. And then you have some upcoming visits, some offensive linemen they're coming up. Caden Keitler is coming in, another UCF kind of center type. He's supposed to be there Monday. The offensive line, I've noticed, so they've certainly gone hard after that. You also have defensive lineman James Williams, that's connected with Tony White and Terrence Knighton, the new defensive line coach. That's one that I think they're certainly going to push for. He's visiting Monday. I mentioned James Williams. I mentioned him, and you also have tight end Terrence Carter, a very explosive tight end out of Louisiana. He's visiting as well on Monday, so that's certainly one that they're very high on. He's very high on them. Very productive guy, over 700 yards receiving. We know that's a focus for FSU. It has been for a while, so that's one to definitely keep an eye on. And then as far as other visitors that are coming this week, as Warchant broke earlier today, uh, legacy recruit Deuce Robinson, wide receiver, he's expected to come in either Thursday. It looks like Thursday, and then Friday is the visit. I think I forget who did the story. Maybe Matt Lasser, one of our guys from Warchant, kind of broke that down of guys that you know that's a guy to really focus on. I've heard he had a talk with FSU that was really good, really strong, really moved the needle as far as kind of just the impressions both Gus made and Norvell made with him and talking to him. I think that's a guy that definitely to keep an eye on with FSU. I mentioned Kalen Kittler earlier. That's one that's coming in offensive line. Another one that's coming in from Vanderbilt, offensive tackle Gunnar Henson. He's supposed to be coming as well on Monday. So you see a lot of Monday visits coming up. You also have a visit with wide receiver Omega Blake from Charlotte. That's one they've coveted. Very productive receiver. And then we have some visits that we think are going to be added to the list, like guys like potentially Casey's Conception, Kevin Conception. That's one of the top receivers around the country out of NC State. Very productive. Colorado, Alabama seem to be the main competition. He's already visited Alabama, supposedly visiting Colorado this weekend, and I would not be surprised if you see him, back on the FSU campus. Mario Cravers, another one they like a lot. Mississippi State, had a really good first year. They're really explosive guy that can really give you a lot of your weapons as far as how he gets open and a lot of different things there. So a lot of stuff going on. They already picked up a commitment from linebacker Stephon Thompson.
Yep.
He's already enrolled. They got that. He's kind of a linebacker slash edge. So certainly added to that. Marquiston Douglas Biscuits coming back to FSU, got him back. So he's expected to come in. And then Omar Graham returned back to FSU after originally entering the portal. So you got a lot of stuff just flying there. And then I think there's other visits like Kendrick Law. I think a guy like from Alabama that I think could see on campus that he could visit next week. I think he graduated on Saturday. So I think that's one to keep an eye on as far as, visits being set up. And there's a lot more guys. It's like, I think there's going to be around 17 visits when it all shakes down, when everything comes to fruition and all these things. But I think, as you can see, there's a lot of activity with FSU. And as I said before, I think the edge positions and the offensive line, and even in the trench of defensive tackle, I think those are highly focused areas. I think tight end, they definitely want to build that room around Landon Thomas because they don't have a lot of depth around him. So I think that's the focus of the tight end position. And of course, they want to get 2 or 3 receivers in this class. I think one productive guy that's been productive in his college days. I think that's what they want. And then other ones just best available that will fit kind of what FSU's done. I think they would prefer to get, multiple productive guys, but I think overall they've got, guys that they're targeting. I think the guys that I've mentioned as far as visits, I think those are ones that, to really focus on. I know people are kind of hammering on them because the visits aren't quicker or earlier. And I agree that you could have sped it up a little bit because we've already seen that with FSU losing Jamari Butler, which is kind of a mild surprise because they thought that he was going to follow, Tony White here. But I will say he did grow up an LSU fans, and that's where he ended up. So, and he has signed, so enrolled. So that one's off the board. But overall, I mean, there's like 5,000 kids in the portal, so there's going to be a lot of options. These last 2 weeks, you got 2 weeks left with this where it closes down the 28th. So there's going to be a lot of movement, and I wouldn't get too comfortable with it's positive or negative with the portal because there's going to be a lot of shifts, and you're going to see a lot of guys on campus, visit this week. I think this is going to be a major week for them to kind of boost up what they have, and if you add them all together, I think if you add the guys that are returning and the guys they had so far, they have 4. So if you get like 10, probably 12 to more, you kind of replace what has entered the portal, or it's from a number standpoint. So overall, I think you have close to 20 in this portal. So I think really just they're just locked into kind of addressing these needs. And I think the main thing is if I'm addressing a needs that certainly is the most important is certainly in both sides of the line. I think if you do that, I think overall the other stuff will pretty much, I think, fall into place as far as what they need. They certainly already have their quarterback of the future in Thomas Castanelis. We saw that, with him already been signed and enrolled. And so I think overall, my next thing, most important thing is those trenches. I think I'd like to see them get like multiple defensive tackles. Certainly, if you can add Lee Hunter and then you can add one more, I think you'd feel good there as far as I guess what you're building, and then you have some other young guys that are really good. And then I think edge, you want to get like 3 or 4. And if you get 3 or 4 guys there in the edge to replace what you've lost, I think that you would feel good about kind of what the direction of where they're going as far as how that fits into going into the spring. And then certainly an offense line, I think, between 5 or 6, 7 if you can. Offensive linemen certainly need a center prospect, maybe more than 1 or 2, and then I think if you keep adding on to that, I think if you get that number up to 7, I think FSU will be. That's how I grade success for them is what they do on the lines, and if they do that in the lines, I think it certainly for me it's going to be a great success. But overall, I can't explain this enough with people like you're not going to get everybody. So mainly, and you're not going to address everything that you probably want, but people wanting to know my view of what's most important, I think those are the areas that are certainly I think most important. I don't think DB's a massive issue or running back, although they could add guys at those positions. I think mostly it's just getting the playmakers that can alter this roster to go along with the guys that you already have that are on the team. Feels like the calmness of the entering the portal was kind of slowed down some. I'm not going to say like, hey, there's not going to be any more, but seems like it's slowed down there. And I think a lot of that is one, adding your quarterback, and then two, I think just having most of your staff, already in place. We know we know Coach JP is going to coach linebackers now. You know all the moves. There's a few more like off the field stuff they'll do, but I think overall the stability of knowing your staff, I think has helped them kind of solidify kind of a comfort of at least players and recruits knowing what's going to be there and what they have to work with. So it's going to be a very busy week, guys. I mean, I don't know what to say. I'll let Ben give me some questions, and I can certainly address anything kind of on your mind, guys.
Well, I was just going to say, things are ever changing, and I've
Yeah.
personally had some terrible luck when we record these videos. It seems like as soon as I post them, some sort of breaking news happens. So I think that's kind of where we can sit at, and I'll just encourage everyone to come over to the Premium Recruiting Board with questions for you, or to see real time updates. You and Matt Lasser have been active in multiple threads. I think you're on thread number 3 now.
Yeah.
In terms
Hey,
of your updates, just because things are changing and it's becoming so long on the page, So
yeah, I can't make it enough of a point that these things are so fluid on, even the visits. I mean, there's guys where, you think they're coming at a certain time and then it's maybe a little bit earlier and, it changes. And then, I've heard up to like, 16 visits or something. It's going to be double digits, as far as visitors. And it's just, it's kind of what they've set it up with, of what they want to do, where they wanted to be one of the schools to get the last crack at a lot of these guys. You certainly have 16th and 17th, and then going into Friday, certainly there's going to be a lot of guys, and I think you'll probably have more when you get to that final weekend where and I can't stress this out, it's about when they enter. It's not about, hey, they have to decide on the 28th. It's just more they need to enter before that 28th date. And I could be wrong. People could, you could check it, or maybe I think there's another period later, and later in the spring, around April or so. But this is one where I think they want to get the majority of the stuff done. I think a success as well of how I'd rate it is if we know they got 4 already. If you count all the guys they've gotten, were Stephon Thompson, Castanelas, and then the 2 that they were able to add, and Mark Kingston Douglas, and then also Omar Graham coming back. So that's 4. You need to, like I said, you need, to me, success wise, you would like to see it in the 15 range or 17 range of guys that they've added. If you can do that, I think certainly I would view that as success. And then you have the February signing period where there's a good chance they sign like 2 or 3 guys you know in that group, and then maybe in the other period for portal you add some more. But I think majority of it, I think they would like to get done here, but it's not like the everything where there might be a guy in the spring maybe hasn't entered the portal, or a few guys or several guys that we see coming to the picture. I think a guy like Keon Coleman didn't do his till later in the late period. So it happens for, but it's going to be very consistent as far as the flow. I think, Ben, there's like around 5,000 kids that are in the portal. So there's going to be a lot of options, and there's probably going to be more that enter as you go on, especially in the spring where guys lose their jobs, and then there's more entering, and you know more staying, more leaving, and so it'll be a constant fluid situation where you attack that. But I think those are certainly some to keep an eye on. Guy I didn't mention is defensive lineman Jack Pyburn. That's another one from Florida. I think that's one that FSU covets as well. Um, don't have the exact date, but I would be surprised if he's not on the visitor list in this massive week coming up. I think that's a guy that do feel could visit next week to kind of keep an eye on. But he's very coveted. Had really good talk with Coach Norvell, and that's one that I know that the staff is really high and pushing on for. Texas A&M, LSU are the other teams that I've heard that are certainly in the mix. But that's a guy to kind of keep an eye on, and hopefully this news is not old guys are stale by the time we put it up because there's so much that changes, but there might be added new stuff. But as of now, that's kind of where it stands. For those that missed it, I did a recruiting wrap last night. Went up this morning, just breaking down kind of where they're at with things. Some of the stuff I'm covering here, and then certainly in case people missed it, I did a exclusive interview with a 4-star running back Usman Chromo. Whenever they're Lee County, almost got trapped into Lee County because I couldn't get my car out because I had to park behind the baseball field. But I'm okay, as you can see, I'm here. But great kid, very confident kid, and it's kind of just you have a chance watch that because it really just tells you about the kid and just get to know him of why, and you can sense why he picked FSU and flipped to FSU. So good stuff there. Matt Lasser's got a lot of good stuff coming up, and certainly we're going to be tracking everything that's going on with the portal, and we'll keep you guys updated. This isn't going to be the last video we do. I'm sure we're going to do a lot more, so we'll keep you abreast, and just stay tuned to Warchant and the Premium Recruiting Board for the latest. And like I just finished the AMA with Ask Me Anything type of feature. I might do another one, to start next week when I have a chance, and then we'll get into it. And for those missed it, I threw a few backstories in on the recruiting wrap of things I'd heard behind the scenes of a few of the prospects. So a lot going on. If you hadn't hit the like button, do that. Definitely, this is the time you want to be on Warchant where everything's popping, coaching news, coaching hires, certainly portal additions, so portal subtractions, a little bit of everything. So make sure you stay tuned to Warchant, guys.
Michael, I think we covered it all there. Let's sign out before we get some more breaking news here. We'll see you guys back soon on the channel. For Michael, I'm Ben. Thanks for watching here on Warchant TV.